Hello, eager 105 student. I've heard that there's some confusion regarding interpreters, so hopefully this will clear that up, along with any other questions you have. Except for questions about SFTP, this will not be covering that. So I'm sorry if you're here for that reason. I think I made some videos about SSH and SFTP back in COM 15. Maybe you can find those on that website. For now, this is just about the 105 interpreters and getting set up for this class. Hopefully this helps. I'm using remote SSH. I'm not an SFTP fan. I actually mostly do local development, but I understand that a lot of people for this class like to use remote SSH. So, you'll have your local computer instance. You'll use this remote explorer and you'll log in. So here I am logged into the server. You can tell because of this guy. I know remote SSH is banned in 15. It's not banned in 105, but we do ask that if you are going to close your computer, just close VS Code because it keeps the process running on the server, slows stuff down. That's why everything crashed last year. If you don't know about that, don't worry, but do close VS Code when you are done coding if you're using remote SSH. So, interpreters, they live in comp 105 bin. That's a path. So if we look there, these are all our interpreters. An interpreter is a program that interprets programming languages, reads them in and executes them, in real time, live. So you can type things in directly and they'll work, as you are coding them. So unlike a compiler where, you have to write your entire program and then you compile it like Clang++ or something or GCC and create an executable, an interpreter is much more interactive. And, they can also read in code files, which we'll be doing in this class. But what's helpful is that you can play with them much more easily. And there are a lot of interpreters you use. You'll be using ImpCore, you'll be using MicroScheme, you'll be using some of the Smalltalk ones and some of the ML ones and probably NanoML and a million of these. Because we teach you a lot of bridge languages as we go through the course. And knowing how to use these and knowing how to use them flexibly, I think is a way to save a lot of time. So without further ado, let's get to it. First, you're going to want to open your CSHRC or CSHREAK, some people called it. RC is like a configuration ending for a file, so bash RC is very common. And you're just going to have use -q105. We give you this use command, which sort of adds some things to your path and gives you some other utils. But generally, you always want to do it with -q. That's for quiet. Having it in this configuration file, which by the way is run whenever you start up your shell, can create some problems. If there's no quiet flag. So just always use use-q in comp 105, and that's really all you need. And then if you do that and you don't want to, you can exit and reopen your remote connection. If you don't want to do that, you can just do source.cshrc. And that will run everything you need. So for our interpreters, we are starting with ImpCore. An interpreter is a program, right? Actually, the terminal itself that we're all familiar with, bash, is an interpreter, and it interprets, a number of commands that we know and love, and any executable that we have, like, grep or xargs or whatever. But CD and ls are ones familiar to everyone, and those are executables too. These executables, like ImpCore, are programs, but they read and interpret programs. That was pretty simple. What isn't so simple is that if I run ImpCore and I want to go up, a command, I want to get +1,2, maybe I want to change it to +1,3. I press my up arrow key. Oh man, there's crap all over my screen now. So the arrow keys and other, special keys and characters are going to generate this sort of unhelpful escape code output that no one really wants. So first off, let's end this session. And you can always end an interpreter session by doing Control D. Control D actually sends it the EOF character as a fun fact, which tells it we're done. So you can also do Control C, which is like kill it, but Control D is much smoother, and Control D will also make sure all your tests run. So I recommend always using Control D. So that's cool, but let's get arrow key functionality because that's much more fun, along with, home and end and all the other keys we like. So most Linux distros come with the built-in ledit. Ledit, it's very simple, and you just place that in front of any interpreted program any program that acts as an interpreter and has, the ability to type in commands and have this sort of REPL, R-E-P-L, read, evaluate, print, loop. It's another common word for these things. And it lets you use all your nice keys. So I believe, if it's not actually built in, let it, share as much of the functionality with Bash or, CSH, whatever shell you're using, that I can use my arrow keys to go up and down on these commands. So if we let it impcore, I +1, 2, you don't need a space there, but I like it. You notice also, as I put my parenthesis, it tells me where it is, which, when you have these languages that have a billion parentheses, is really helpful. 3, so I want to edit that, boop, +1, 3, nice and easy. So that's how you get to the interpreters, and you'll always have access to these interpreters just from the default command line, impcore. And you'll notice, you're running these from comp105 bin, and you can actually assert this by saying which impcore. It's going to tell me that, yes, it is indeed in 105 bin. And you can always do, a direct run of the program by just naming it, but that's no fun. It's a lot to type. So we just like to type impcore, and that's why we have use -q, comp105 in our C-Shriek. And specifically, I always like to use let it, because when you're typing, you want to go up, you start pressing arrow keys, it makes escape codes everywhere, no one's having fun. So that's basically it for the interpreters. I can do another video if there's other stuff people would find helpful. That's about that. Hope you enjoyed. If you're watching this on 2x speed, I hope my voice sounds good in 2x speed. And that's all, folks. Have a good night.